Okay, with that, welcome to the third, technically speaking. And I am really just here to kind of kick the thing off today, but our very own Eric Taylor will be presenting on the PanaCast 20. The title of today's presentation is Fully Present on Your Terms with the PanaCast 20. And like with all other technically speaking, the idea is to get a little bit more technical, to go beyond just the, hey, what is it? And today we're talking about a webcam, right? But the whole point here is that this is so much more than a webcam, and it is such an important part of the hybrid work arsenal that you should be carrying with you. And so the idea of being fully present on your terms, we're going to dive into exactly why this does so much more than just represent you with some video. But why it's a tool that goes well beyond that. Before I kick things over to Eric, a quick note on housekeeping. If you've been here before, it's the same slide. If you are new, well then welcome. Here's kind of how we run this thing. First off, we dub it an unwebinar because even though we're doing some presenting and definitely demoing, we don't want this to just be us talking at you. We want to have a conversation. We want you to bring your questions. We want you to turn on your webcam if you're comfortable. And if you've got a question, throw that hand up. We will unmute you or put it in the chat. And there's a couple of us on here that'll be paying attention to the chat, answering questions there during presentation. But please feel free to interrupt us during this. We want this to be conversational. So I've covered those first two little circles there. That third column, we are, just like the last couple sessions, going to be giving away a package, a bundle, if you will, featuring the PanaCast 20, obviously, along with the Evolve 2 Buds, a very good hybrid working combination. We won't be doing that during this session specifically because we use the attendance reports that are generated after the event to do our drawing, and then we will notify you via email if you won. So the email that you registered with, keep an eye on that. Last little bit of housekeeping that's not on here. Once you're done with the meeting, go ahead and hit that leave button. We have some people that I think had such a good time in previous technically speakings that they stay for hours, hoping for more and more content. And when the show's over, the show's over. All right, so just hit leave when it's done. That's it for me. I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Eric. He's going to spotlight himself and talk to us about the PanaCast 20. Eric, floor is yours, man.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh. And like Josh said, I'm going to spotlight myself for everyone. If you're on the Teams desktop client, you might just have to right click on me and fit me to frame so you can see the full breadth of everything that I'm going to be showing today. There'll be a few PowerPoints, mostly live demo. I have an extreme allergic reaction to PowerPoints. Sometimes they're just necessary. Also, I'd really like to reiterate what Josh just said as far as please feel free to engage. I'm happy to sit here and talk at you. But like I tell a lot of the customers that I work with, I'm a better conversationalist than a podcast host. We're also joined with a few other of my peers on the call as well. We're here to not only present content and share on the PanaCast 20 and other Jabra solutions, but to answer your questions, right? Hopefully you'll learn something from this and you'll get what you need out of it. So feel free to, you don't have to come off video, but you can drop it in chat or just come off mute, but we want to be able to engage with you. So having said that, we are going to spend time, just a little bit of time today talking about, Josh, shame on you, this is not a webcam. This is a personal video device, which is the Jabra PanaCast 20. So just real quick.
That's why you're presenting today. So
yeah, I've got all the fancy business terms, right? Oh, Ted. Oh, was that a false hand raised, Ted? Okay. So just real quick, where does the PanaCast 20 fit into the portfolio? We'd be remiss if we didn't at least share the other video solutions, collaboration solutions we have from Jabra. Obviously, we have the PanaCast 50. You can do that BYOD, a Windows-based room system, or an Android-based room system. We've got the original, that Jabra PanaCast Classic that you see there, that kind of credit card size, 180-degree field of view device. But today we're going to be talking about that personal video device, the Jabra PanaCast 20. So Everything that you see today will be coming from a video perspective, will be coming from the Jabra PanaCast 20. From an audio perspective, it does have 3 MEMS microphones built into the device. You can kind of see those on the side and the top of the device. I am not using the microphones on the P20. They're kind of there for in a pinch, but largely the PanaCast 20 is a video type of device. We would frequently or typically encourage you to pair this with one of our Jabra Speak devices. We've got the Speak 240, you got the 55, you've got the 75, which actually is what I'm using today. Sorry if I'm creating a bunch of bad audio for you as I pick this up, but this is the Speak 275. You see that cool little green ring around it. So I am, from a hybrid work scenario, I'm using the PanaCast 20 for video, the Speak 275 for audio, the hockey puck, if you will. You could obviously pair, there you go, Eric, great name. You could pair this with any of the previous generation audio devices as well, or a headset, obviously. Jabra, I think we have a few headset offerings as well. So, but yeah, diving right into the PanaCast 20, you are actually seeing me on my PanaCast 20 now. It is a 720, 1080 or 4K device. Obviously, we're on Microsoft Teams, so you're not going to get a full 4K image, but this at least gives you an idea of what the image quality looks like. Admittedly, I'm in a well-lit space, and if we want to get into some real deep demo here in a bit after we kind of get through the meat and potatoes of it, maybe I can turn off the lights, close the blinds, that sort of thing. You can see how it works in low light. But just giving you an idea of what the image quality looks like with the PanaCast 20. Now, this is a 117-degree diagonal field of view, so I'm going to stretch out and show you that. A 90-degree horizontal field of view, so it's really able to show a lot of your space. Now, before we get into all of that, as far as how the video looks, how it behaves, let's take a look at the hardware. Josh, you want to hold up your box there? I don't have the box. I've unboxed mine and long since thrown that away. So comes in a cardboard box. Ooh, ah. Inside of that cardboard box, you're going to find a whole bunch of documentation that I'm sure you'll read cover to cover. But for those of you who are not going to be reading the documentation, the first thing you're going to see is this cool little oval travel case. Awesome for being able to carry this around. Unzip this little guy, open it up. Be careful not to drop the PanaCast 20 because it's kind of seated in there alongside of its 1.5 meter, or if you're using Freedom units, 4.9 foot USB cable. This is a capable of USB 2.0 or USB 3.0. I'm going to pull this guy out just so you can kind of see it. Give you a little place to stash this cable there. Throw that to the side and pull out the PanaCast 20. Put the little carry case to the side. Now, the first thing you're probably going to notice about the PanaCast 20 is that it is an all metal chassis. So I like to, as I travel with this little guy, I like to call this the indestructible metal pill. It is not indestructible. Never challenge a user to try and destroy a device. They will find a way. But as far as durability goes, extremely durable, tough device. It is measuring approximately 3 inches long, about 1.25 inches wide, and about 1 inch tall. Now, the really cool thing about that 1 inch height is that it sits, thanks to its little built-in foot you see there. It's actually hinged onto the device. It's rubberized so it doesn't slip around on top of your monitor or on top of your laptop display. The really nice thing about this is it sits really low on the bezel of your, the top of your monitor. So you maintain a really good line of sight. So when you're talking to people, it doesn't look like you're doing this weird thing where you're looking off to the side. It actually sits right there on top. So you look like you're speaking to the person. Anecdotally speaking, the nice thing is if you look, it's a very small ledge there. So if you're using one of these fancy new monitors that have a very thin bezel where you get a lot of screen real estate, it's nice because there are other cameras. I may have some experience with some other cameras on the market who have a very thick lip that kind of goes over the bevel. And the next thing you know, your Windows tabs up there are being covered and you're having to work around that thing to close windows and navigate, et cetera. So very unintrusive, very low profile on the PanaCast 20, all metal chassis. Another little thing that's nice, in addition to having this built-in foot that you don't have to have an extra, say, plastic thing that has to click onto the bottom of this device, Also built into the PanaCast 20 is the privacy cover. So if you can see that, I'll hold it real close there. Sorry for the lighting. There's a little lever right up under the primary optic there that allows you to put the privacy cover in place. So now, again, you don't have like a little piece of plastic that you have to clip on here or lose. It's built right into the device. So very thoughtful design, all metal. The 3 MEMS microphones, there's one located, there's a little hole built onto the top there. There's a one on either side of the lens. Those are the microphones on the device. But again, they work approximately up to 8 feet, but you're not going to get the best audio quality from it like you would a dedicated audio device like the Speak. So that's my my caveat, right? The fine print as far as that goes. Another thoughtful design on this, just for awareness, and we're going to go to some better pictures here in just a sec, but I just like to show it. It is a USB-C connection that goes to the USB-A. Again, the nice thing about this is that the cable is not a captive cable. So you can get a longer USB cable. We obviously encourage you to use the included cable. But if you have a USB-C to USB-C or USB-C to USB-A, you could potentially use another cable because, sometimes they get lost, sometimes they get broken. Now you don't have to replace your entire camera. But the other nice thing about this is that USB-C port is oriented in a straight down manner. So if you've ever used these things and you've walked behind your monitor, or you've been traveling with a laptop and you've got this awkward cable that's sticking straight off the back of the camera at 90 degrees, you can kind of appreciate how a cable that's going straight down flush against the back of your monitor is going to be really, really nice from a hybrid work scenario if you're out and about. So showing you that one more time, just giving you a few more images, the straight on view. Again, it shows that privacy cover. Their little slider is just underneath the primary lens. That's a little image of it with the privacy cover open. You'll notice that there is a little LED just above the lens there. That's kind of an activity lens. So right now I'm looking at my PanaCast 20. There's a little white light on that shows that I have an active video stream. When I hang up the call, that little light goes off. So a little LED status indicator there as well. Bottom image there shows you kind of the rubberized pad to kind of help sit on your monitor to keep it nice and secure. There is also a tripod mount. I apologize. I don't know the actual thread pitch there, but I'll put maybe Josh or Rob, if you guys could pop the thread pitch in chat. Obscure thing, but it does come up because some folks want to be able to tripod mount this, or we do have a little monopod that comes with our Meet Anywhere kit that some folks like to put a P20 on and use that as well. So there is actually a little tripod mount on the bottom of the P20. Any questions so far? Josh, do I need to catch up on anything, or does anybody want to come off mic?
I think the only question on there was just how you had your PanaCast 20 mounted, if you had it, on the display, or you mentioned just a second ago that we've got that mount on the bottom. Do you have it on a stand? How are you using yours?
I am using mine directly on top of my display. So live demo, we're going to go a little off script. So let's say, kind of to reiterate the point, here's my laptop. I'm going to take the PanaCast 20 and sit it right there on top with the included foot. That's how I have mine mounted. Boy, that's really, you guys are really giving me the business there. But there you go. That shows how that USB cable would go straight down and won't kind of go woo way off the back of this. But you can see again there, you can see how low profile it sits on top of the bevel. And that's exactly how I have it mounted on top of my monitor now.
Beautiful.
All right.
And the length, we have, Eric asked what the length of the cam is. I think you said that was about 3 inches.
I do. So I tell you what, we'll jump to another PowerPoint slide here that's going to kind of give you some dimensions for the camera. So again, we talked about the carrying case. We talked about that USB-C to A 1.5 meter, 5-foot cable. It weighs 136 grams, 4.9 ounces. That all metal chassis gives it a little heft. Has a 2-year warranty, but there are your dimensions there. About 1 3/4 inches wide, 1 inch tall, and about roughly 3 1/4 inches deep. I'll show you the actual device there again. I don't know if holding it next to an iPhone is going to help, but just to kind of give you an idea of what the size is next to a smartphone. All right.
And do have no other questions at the moment. I think a couple people are getting a not great feed coming through, but that doesn't appear to be the case across the board. So it might just be what we're joining from, app versus browser. Hard to troubleshoot, but
Teams platform. Sorry.
Yeah. And then the question: why not C2C for USB?
Why not C2C? That is an excellent question. I think USB-A at the time, when the PanaCast 20 went into production, USB-A is still a pretty prevalent connection, but obviously you could, the included cable is C to A, but you could potentially use another type of cable, and we have a certified list of cables, which we can drop a link to that in the chat. You could go from a C to a C. In fact, I have another PanaCast 20, which we're going to show another feature. I was out of 8 USB-A ports on my laptop, so I had to go to a USB-C port. So I'm using one that I got off of Amazon that was up from our certified cable list to go C to C from the device.
That's it. I mean, it's a good point, though, right? That this is some of our newer devices, as we come out with the newer line of like Speak 2, for example, you've got dual C and A options built right into that USB cable. With the PanaCast 20, while we're covering it right now and talking about it right now, it's not a new device in the market. It's actually been on the market for a good while. And so kind of that cabling decision that has evolved internally was made before we've started taking this more everything works approach, right? So.
Yeah, that is one of the nice things. I think that's probably a good takeaway from this, maybe, that we could share with the product team. The Speak 2, they did do this USB-C cable with the kind of integrated USB-A adapter. Like I said, USB-As are still pretty prevalent, but just as I say this, I've got a MacBook with no USB-A ports on it. So USB-C does come into play every now and then. All right. Okay. So let's just roll along, if we will, just talk a little bit about certifications. I think that's important because having a certified device when you're using some of the more prominent UC platforms out there is important, because if you have ever gotten a call from, if you're in IT and someone calls and says, hey, my video is bad or my audio is bad, one of the first things you're going to say is, well, what are you using? Are you using a certified device? And if you have to ever open a support ticket, those UC vendors, they might say, well, you need to first start with a certified device. So certifications for the PanaCast 50 include Microsoft Teams, Zoom, and Ring Central. We also work with Google Meet and Google Chromebook. Validated this just a couple of days myself. Grabbed one of my kids' Chromebooks, plugged the PanaCast 20 into it, and it worked. Now, again, that's works with, not certified for. Certified for Microsoft Teams, Zoom, and Ring Central. Okay. All right. So let's get into a little bit more demo and maybe configuration of this device, management of this device. So to manage the PanaCast 20, probably the first, foremost, and easiest thing to do is to install Jabra Direct onto your laptop, so you can kind of get into the guts of any Jabra device that you have connected to your PC. So we're going to jump over here to my Jabra Direct application, where you're going to see the myriad of Jabra devices connected to my mousetrap. But as you can see, I actually have 2 PanaCast 20s connected. We're going to jump to the one that we're showing right now. And the first thing you're going to see is a camera controller. So if I click on camera controller, what this is going to do is actually launch a little software remote on my PC that's going to give me the ability to control the camera. So take a good look at this, because I'm going to be clicking a few of these buttons here in just a second to show you what these things actually do. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Intelligent Zoom. Far and away my favorite feature of the PanaCast 20. Anybody who's used the PanaCast 20 knows the power of Intelligent Zoom. I've used a number of webcams in my life, and I always felt trapped, for lack of a better word. You're just sitting dead still in the middle of the frame to make sure that people could see you. But there's long meetings where you're just like, oh my gosh. Intelligent zoom, toggle that on with my little software remote. And what you can see is it's going to do a digital pan tilt zoom of that 117 diagonal field of view and keep me in frame. Now, I'm actually going to move around. Let me move this cable so I don't roll over it. So what it allows me to do is actually feel more relaxed in my space. And wherever I go, I'm going to be optimally framed. Now, I'm not doing anything. Look, Ma, no hands. So I'm actually going to shift away from the PanaCast 20. I'm probably about 10, 12, 13 feet away from it. But as long as I stay within that 117-degree field of view, and the PanaCast 20, the algorithm can readily identify my head, my shoulders, it's going to keep me in frame. So this is super nice from a flexibility standpoint when you just want to be able to stay comfortable during your meetings and to stay well framed. So that is and you can see here on the remote that I've toggled on intelligent zoom. Now, if I toggle off intelligent zoom, as you see here, toggle that off, it's going to go back to the full 117-degree field of view. Now, I'm doing a lot of cool stuff with OBS just to kind of save us some time. But what I'm going to show you now is actually built into the PanaCast 20. We had a lot of folks say, you know, they want to show off something, they want to kind of present on something, but they want to stay in view, but they're not doing all this cool camera switching and OBS, virtual cameras, that sort of thing. Built into the PanaCast 20 is a picture-in-picture mode. So I'm going to toggle on the remote this little picture-in-picture toggle here, and what's going to happen is, boop, now you see the preset, which is the full field of view, but you're also seeing a little inset there that shows an intelligent zoom version of me. So now what I can do is actually tap on one of the presets on my PanaCast 20, and this is where I show off a Microsoft Teams room. So I'm talking to customers, I'm showing them Teams rooms, I'm talking about the P50, et cetera. And so they still see me, they still stay engaged with me using the intelligent zoom version. So that picture-in-picture is actually built into the camera. And again, I can kind of go back to the presets, toggle off that picture-in-picture, toggle on the intelligent zoom, giving me control of the camera. Now, obviously, there is the ability to do some manual zooming, some manual panning here via the zoom in, zoom out panning. I won't waste your time with that. But if you kind of want to refine it and then go in, once you've kind of zoomed in on something and panned in just where you want it, you can go to save the preset and save it to one of those two presets there. So that's how you set your presets. Okie doke.
Eric, a quick question on intelligent zoom. Can it be tweaked for less sensitivity?
It cannot. So intelligent zoom is basically what it is. So I'm going to toggle intelligent zoom on now. This is kind of what you get. The algorithm does what the algorithm does. And honestly, if I'm being 100% truthful here with everyone, sometimes I find myself like if I don't feel good in the frame, what I'll do is I'll shift around in my seat to kind of see if I can get it to sort of reframe me. But for the most part, it does a heck of a good job keeping me framed. But yeah, there's no real like sensitivity tweak or anything you can do to intelligent zoom. Good question though, really good question. All right. Back to the remote, just as far as image quality goes, you do have the ability to tweak the image quality in the call you're in. Now, that's a very important distinction because we have folks say, hey, look, I'm using the camera. I adjust all my settings. I turn off vivid HDR, white balance, et cetera. But then I go into my next call and the settings are reset. So what the settings do on the remote is this is just for this call. So if we end the Teams meeting, the Zoom meeting, the Ring Central, whatever it is, and we come and the camera starts a new video feed, these settings are going to be reset to the ones that we're going to show you in Jabra Direct. So these are temporary, right? So what I'm going to do real quick is show you, I can actually adjust I want to drop the brightness slider or toggle the white balance. There you go. Woo! So if this is what you're after, you can do it in real time. I'm just going to reset that because that's just absolutely horrible.
That's
you
not
can
what
actually
anyone's
go in.
there.
There we go. Change the white balance. But I'm just going to turn on automatic white balance. So you can do all of your image adjustments. Hopefully, you're probably better at that than I am. But you can do that in real time with the remote. Okay. Welcome to Florida. That's great. All right. So again, we were doing all of that via the remote controller that is accessed in Jabra Direct. Now, if you want to do permanent settings for the PanaCast 20, you'll need to go into the settings section here. Now, the first thing you're going to see is background effects. So we'll touch on that real quick. You can actually put background effects for the PanaCast 20 directly on the device. Now, this is an important distinction. To be clear, I'm using the PanaCast 20, and like Teams has background blur, right? So I can turn on the background blur in Teams. Now, I'm going to turn off the background blur in Teams. There you go. Thomas has got it. So the thing about that is in highly secure environments, for some customers, this really matters. I'm having to send my full video stream up to the cloud, Teams, as it were, where the cloud is going to put the blur behind me, right? In highly secure environments, that could be deemed potentially an issue. So what the PanaCast 20 allows you to do is add either blurred or color or green screen effects directly on the device. Now I'm going to show you that here on another PanaCast 20 that I have connected. So this is my PanaCast 20 that's up on top of another monitor where I've actually turned the background blur on the device. So this is the image that is being processed locally on the PanaCast 20 that is going up to the cloud. All right. Now I'm switching to another PanaCast 20 to do that, just because it does require a reboot to put those effects in, to actually apply those effects on the PanaCast 20. I don't want to bore you all with that. So, but it is available as an option. All right. Now, if you want intelligent zoom to be on by default in every meeting, you toggle it on here. Again, these are all defaults whenever the video stream is activated from the PanaCast 20. Video flicker, 50 or 60 hertz. I always use this to set this to auto. I don't know why anyone would want 50 hertz. Someone who's better at video can probably share that, but typically leave that to audio. If you want to restrict the field of view, we have actually had customers who think that the 90-degree field of view, the 117 diagonal, is too much. They just don't want employees to be showing that much of their space. They want to keep it tight. You can actually go in and manually adjust the field of view to 75, 60, or even 45 on the PanaCast 20. Now, image quality settings, when you go into edit here, these are the permanent image settings on the PanaCast 20. Permanent in so much as that it will actually translate from call to call. So once you kind of get it here, obviously I'm using the camera now within Teams, so it's not showing me the live stream, but it will show you the live preview, and you can kind of tweak these things as you see fit. Obviously you have brightness controls, contrast, saturation, sharpness, automatic white balance, but the camera is also capable of vivid HDR. For those of you who are not familiar, I don't really have a really good demonstration of this, but vivid HDR comes into play really well if you're backlit, like if you have a strong backlighting behind you, because what it does is basically interlace different frames with different white balance and contrast settings. So if Eric looks really good in this frame and then the back is really dark, it will kind of interlace that to give you the best mix of the background and the foreground, so you get a nice, clean, uniform image. So Vivid HDR is actually a really nice feature on devices.
Eric, I'm going to jump in and throw a question out there that's a good one to cover. From a portfolio perspective, how would this work in a multi-person setting, like in a conference room or classroom? Yeah,
good question. Good live demo. It is designed to be a personal video device. Let's be clear about that. It is not designed to be a room device. So the algorithm basically detects the most prominent. The best way I can describe it is it will detect the most prominent figure within its frame. Yep, Josh. So if you want to do multi-framing, you probably want to go with the PanaCast 50 or the PanaCast, where it does an intelligent zooming and identifies multiple parties. So what you're looking at now is the PanaCast 50. But for the PanaCast 20, let's try it. Let me jump over here and grab my man, Luke Skywalker. It sees me. Obviously, I'm the one that's moving a lot. Luke Skywalker is over there, but the PanaCast 20 doesn't really pay much attention to him. Now, if I were to kind of move back here, let's see what happens. Yeah, see, I'm kind of behind Luke. It's going to find Luke, but it's not going to be able to, even though we're both in that 117-degree field of view. See, it's ignoring me. Right, because it's basically found Luke and it's homed in on him. Now, if I were to kind of move up here closer to the camera, I'm the more prominent individual. I'm closer to the PanaCast 20. So it's like, all right, you know what? I think Eric is probably the person who's using this PanaCast 20. So if there were people walking behind me, it's largely going to eliminate them. But this happens to me a lot. If any of you have seen some of the other demos that we've done where we have like the cardboard cutouts behind us, and this will happen to me sometimes. Like I'll stop paying attention in meetings and whatnot, and see it'll kind of get the side of my face, and it's like, oh, what? There's Luke. Hold on. There's Eric. Give you an idea. Does that kind of answer the question? It's intended to be a single party algorithm.
I think that looks like it. That he said thanks for that. It also commented that Luke is much better looking. I have to agree there.
Okay, well, your words hurt. Thanks for that.
There was a request to walk back to the door as well.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the other thing in there from Eric is if your associate has a louder voice, would it choose the person on cam? And there is no AI built in to make decisions based on that. So
yeah, there's no like speaker tracking, even though it does have the microphones. There's no speaker tracking. Again, this is approximately 20 feet away, as you can see. I'm pretty far back from the PanaCast 20 now. We're still in that 117-degree full field of view, talking to you on the Speak 275 across the room in my acoustically challenged space. I've done the best I can with treatments on these 45-degree walls, but again, let's toggle on intelligent zoom here. Boop. So I am about 10 feet away from the PanaCast 20. It's intelligent zooming on me. I'm going to move back here 15-ish feet. They're going to find me. Again, we're really pressing the PanaCast 20, and again, I'm probably a little high for it. We're really pressing its capabilities. I mean, it is designed to be in Josh's parlance, a webcam, not a room type camera. So the algorithm isn't really tweaked to do that. But you can see it still finds me. It still tracks me a little bit. But it's largely designed to work within, the microphones work about up to 8 feet, but it's largely designed to work about 6 to 8 feet is probably where you're going to see your optimal performance.
Damn.
All right. Great questions. Really good. So jumping back over to Jabra Direct, where we configure this little guy, you do have the ability to bump the video resolution from 4K down to 1080p if you so desire. Again, you've got the audio section here, really not a whole lot exciting here other than the ability to turn on the microphones, and you can grab some product information. Now, if you want to manage, we're going to cancel out of this. Don't want to save any of that. If you want to manage a fleet of PanaCast 20s, you have the ability for, obviously local, for you yourself to manage your own PanaCast 20. But if you're an IT administrator, the best way to do that currently is to go into Jabra Express, which is our cloud management platform. I'm going to log into this guy here and going to go to my man, Rob Houston. Rob, I'm sorry. I promise not to mess anything up on your desktop. So Rob is in Portland, Oregon. I am in Raleigh, North Carolina. Rob is, let's see if I can break it, Rob. But go into devices, and I can look at my inventory here, and I can see what all Rob has connected to his desktop. Yep, he's got a PanaCast 20. If I go into manage, I see that Rob has set up the ability to manage both the PanaCast 20 and PanaCast 50. I'm interested in his PanaCast 20. I can upgrade or downgrade the firmware on Rob Houston's camera, or I can even change background effects, enable intelligent zoom, video flicker, field of view, video resolution, and turn on his microphones. I won't do that to you, Rob, but this gives you an idea of how you can remotely manage a fleet of PanaCast 20s. Now, this is not a one-off management. For this profile, we won't dive deep into Jabra Express today, but for this profile, it would manage all of the PanaCast 20s connected to this Express profile. But we have customers. Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
I do notice that on the screen there is not a preview for the camera remotely. So
right,
important call out.
This is a subset and remote management for the PanaCast 20. But we do have folks who deploy these en masse. They want to be sure that intelligent zoom is on by default, or that a certain field of view is in effect, or that background settings are strictly enforced within their environment. They don't want people to have the option to turn them on or off. You're using a PanaCast 20, it's being managed by the organization, you're getting a blur, or you're getting a green screen, or whatever it is.
Is Jabra
Yes.
Express free?
It is.
All right.
And yes, you can update the firmware remotely. Here you have the firmware versions that you can choose from. Maybe later, just to anger Rob, I'll downgrade his to 2.7. Okay. Look at the smile.
You can play those games, buddy.
All right. So yeah, just real quick, just kind of for review of the PanaCast 20. Teams, Zoom, Ring Central certified, works with Google Meet, works with Chromebook, carrying case, USB C to A. There's your weights, your 2-year warranty, dimensions on the device, USB specifications 3.0 or 2.0. I would highlight that there is a lot of, and let's just talk about the elephant in the room. There is a lot of edge processing happening on the PanaCast 20, basically meaning that the intelligent zoom, the background effects, all the things that are happening on this are pretty unique to the PanaCast 20. There are other cameras, webcams, personal video devices on the market that will do these things, but they require a helper application to be running on the PC. Some of you may be familiar with that. Since the PanaCast 20 is doing all of these things locally, you're going to feel it get warm because there is compute happening on the device. In fact, that's one of the reasons for that all-metal chassis is not just durability, but it's heat dissipation as well. The decision was made to not put active cooling or a fan on the PanaCast 20, so the heat dissipates from its metal chassis. We've had people ask, well, you know what? It feels uncomfortably hot to me. It is designed to work that way. I've even had one customer say and there's a support article which we can share if anyone is interested as well. The operating temperatures, the safe operating temperature. I've had a couple of customers say, is it going to melt my plastic? No, I'm not going to guarantee it won't melt your plastic, but my PanaCast 20 sits up there and I have it running 8-9 hours a day. And it does get that afternoon sun hitting it, and I have not seen melting. But it will get warm because of the edge compute. It also requires 500 milliamps of power from your USB port. Typically not an issue, but I just kind of share that. If anyone gets a P20 and you plug it into like an older PC or like an old USB-A port or 2.0 port, USB is a standard, but there are a lot of different variants out there. So if you ever find that you're plugging in a PanaCast 20 into a port and you're not getting a video stream, maybe try a USB 3.0 port or try it on a newer PC, something like that, because it does require 500 milliamps of power to be delivered to the PanaCast 20. Probably not something you'll run across, but we're technically speaking here, so going to share all the nitty-gritty details, okay? All right, audio specifications, getting nerdy, but you have the 3 MEMS microphone. There's your microphone sensitivity and your frequency range, but again, typically going to want to pair this with a secondary audio source like a speak or a headset, something of that nature. And the full gross video specifications, 13 megapixels, 3x lossless digital zoom. I think you all saw me kind of stepping back at about 15 feet. You could see the image quality at that distance. 4K 1080p 720. Fields of view, we hit on that quite frequently. The diagonal is 117 degrees, which is pretty darn good. 90-degree horizontal, 75 vertical. We showed the intelligent zoom mode, the picture-in-picture mode, and the on-device background effects. We talked a little bit about the Vivid HDR. Sorry, I don't actually have a window behind me to kind of really show the beauty of that. But if you're brightly backlit, Vivid HDR is really going to help out. Now, I put the aperture, that 2.25 aperture in there because one of the frequent questions is, okay, Eric, you got a lot of light. It looks good. How does it look in a low light situation? So I think we got a few minutes. We're going to go a little bit off script. This is a last minute addition, Josh, sorry. Hey, Google, turn off the office lights. I'm going to stand up over here. I'm going to completely close my window, and I'm going to put my office into what I like to call gaming mode. So this is basically what my wife and kids see of me after hours when I'm over here on Steam gaming. This is as dark as I can make my office. The complete lights out. The plantation shutters are 100% closed. I do have a little ambient light from my monitor. You see my team's rooms and around me, but this is the this is the low light performance that you would get from the PanaCast 20. Not too shabby.
No, that's pretty awesome.
All right, I think I have beat the PanaCast 20 to death as far as specs and demo goes. I wish I could spend a whole hour on it, but fundamentally, it's a personal video device or a webcam, and it is a very fine one at that.
But it is, again, to that question earlier about, hey, what about using it in this scenario or that scenario? It is one device in a portfolio of devices that are meant to tackle all those different scenarios. So this is a great starting point for that personal hybrid worker that needs a good on-the-go solution. We had one question that popped in here about, is there any local indication for a user if a remote manager turns on the microphone?
I do not believe there is.
No.
No. The LED indicators for the video just turns white when the video is active.
And what about security on it? So is the LED would turn on if we were hacked to let us know Big Brother is watching? Does Jabra Express take care of that possible issue?
If Big Brother was watching, I'm not sure how they would be doing it, but the white LED would come on if the device is active in a video stream. So if you were to able to somehow manually manipulate and turn on that camera, then the white LED would come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I'd call out that the background effect feature is a newer security-centered feature, right? That is mainly there not because background blur is new, but because the ability to do background blur before the image with sensitive data ever leaves the device and goes to your laptop, which could be compromised, that image is protected there as well. So another security play. And then a question about, is it TAA compliant, which I am not sure of.
I do not believe it is.
Okay.
We will. The current understanding is no. If that is inaccurate, we will share that. And David, I see your question. I am trying to determine how I can show that. So I'm gonna go a little bit off script and show that here if I can in just a sec. Any other questions?
Window.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and get a bright window behind me. See if we can show that.
I'm gonna stop sharing again for a second while you try to do that.
All right, we're going out of the cone of safety, everyone. So please be forgiving. You may see things that you are not intended to see. I'm going to try and turn off the intelligent zoom for the camera real quick. So because this is one that isn't wrapped up in my cable management. All right, here we go. Easy.
Rhoda, we may have to have people sign some sort of waiver before joining when Eric is presenting in the future. So
Can't see this.
I think
can't
that's
see
a
the
good
image
idea.
because I'm going over here to my window. How does that look? Very bright window behind me, white shirt. Can you still make me out?
can make you out, but you do look a little suspect. So,
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
This is off script live demo. I did the best I could. Some of these things you just have to see it for yourself.
You do. I don't know. You know, it's a very hard one to solve for someone who really wants to be sitting with that window behind them. That's a really tough lighting situation to overcome, no matter what the AI is on board. But looks like all right. We've got a
gentleman named. I'm going to give a
conversion.
pitch for Danny Hayasaka from Call One on LinkedIn. He's a pretty big P20 fan, full disclosure. But he actually has done a number of comparison videos. Don't just take a Jabra's folks' word for it, right? Danny is a really good one. Look up some of his P20 videos. And I know he did a really good camera comparison where he was sitting in front of a big window where he was backlit. And to my recollection, the PanaCast 20 was probably the best as far as that situation goes. But check him out. Don't take our word for it.
Yeah, Danny tests anything and everything across the board for certified devices, and the P20 bubbles at the very top for him on the personal video device category. Did I say that better than webcam?
I like that.
Okay. That's good. That's good. Thank you, Eric, for presenting on that. A quick reminder for everyone that our next Technically Speaking will be November 29th, 1 p.m. Eastern. This QR code will take you to the main Technically Speaking landing page where you can find the next couple sessions up. Right now, we need to update it because you've got today's and then you've got November's up there. Tentatively, we are scheduled to talk about the evolution of managing our solutions. I'm going to put a little verbal asterisks there that there may be a shift in the topic. Either way, it's going to be a fun time with the same lovable cast of characters presenting. I say that very loosely with Eric presenting, but it's, but anyway, go get registered. If you're not already done registered for that, get it on the calendar so you don't miss out. That will be the last one of the year because we do these at the end of the month. And the end of December is always a very unpopular time for people to join, even on webinars, let alone, you're right. So get registered, be there in November, and then we will circle back around in January. With that, do we have any other questions? And since Michael Tressler is not here, we are pretty safe from sarcasm-laden answers. So looks like we had did we have a hand? No, we had a reaction, I think is what that was. All right. But anyone put that hand up, throw a question in the chat. Anything else before we call it a day with this Technically Speaking? Any new products after the P50? Well, there's the P50 video bar system that just came out and is now shipping as of September. So kind of the Android evolution of the PanaCast 50, right? The same, primarily same feature set there, the same PanaCast experience. There are some value packs coming out at the end of the year to add a few new cool features to the video bar system. You see that in Eric's screen there. The system comes with the bar, Android on board, with the control, which is that center of room 10-inch touch controller running Android, the 2 pair over IP. So you've got a Teams Room certified, Zoom Room certified solution for both the Windows side and Android side now. But in terms of anything new beyond that, from the video perspective, there is nothing official to share at this time for new devices in the video space. Just keep an eye out, keep an ear open, and be here every month to stay up to speed with what the latest is technically there. And we'll get into the roadmaps as early as they allow us to get into the roadmaps, but it gets a little tricky at certain points. So
it's a big software year though, right, Josh? I mean, you don't necessarily need new hardware to make some major advances. So if you have a P50, Value Pack 4 just dropped. There's some good info out there, some really neat features.
And we also talked about at InfoComm what Value Pack 5 has toward the end of the year as well. We'll be talking more about that in the coming months. It's like you're getting a new device with new capabilities, except you don't have to buy a new device. We're just updating the device with new capabilities as they come out. So really big shifts coming even before the end of this year on both the PanaCast 50 and the video bar system. But throughout next year, there will be a lot happening software-wise from Jabra in the space. So definitely keep your eyes peeled there. We've got a raised hand, so I'm going to go ahead and allow the mic for Joseph. Joseph, what is up?
Quick question for you. When you did the kind of off-script demo in front of your window, was the HDR on?
Oh, Joseph put me on the spot. Let me verify.
Because wasn't that kind of the intent?
It was not.
Can we try it again with HDR on?
Yes, absolutely.
Please.
Good catch.
Good catch indeed. Okay, so just to verify, let's see if this is working. I just toggled on HDR for this device.
Spotlighting you again.
All right, trying again. I can't see. I'm going around the back of my monitor here to kind of show this. Can you still see me? Do I still look like Eric?
Yeah.
Trying to give you the worst lighting conditions from the sun as I can.
It's slightly better.
These are the worst conditions, but it is slightly better. Yes.
Can you see the house across the street?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, so with HDR off, you wouldn't be able to see the house because it'd be so whitewashed. You wouldn't actually be able to see my neighbor's house over there. So that's one of the, like, it's kind of
Thank you.
doing that alternating white balance and contrast.
It will
Is it
for
a
the
manual?
It's not a
HDR view.
huge difference, but it's one of those things, like with it off, you're kind of like, that's kind of white washed out. With it on, you're like, oh, that looks a little cleaner, and I can see things outside the window, and the colors look a little truer.
Great catch.
Thank you.
Okay. So we've still got, I'm going to unspotlight Eric again. I'm going to call out while we're waiting for any other questions here that the QR code on the screen is a survey code. We do greatly appreciate the feedback. We want to know what you wanted to hear. So hopefully you found this helpful. Hopefully you're going to find next month's helpful. But we want to know if there's specific technical topics you want to dive deeper on with us that you don't see on the agenda as we update those sessions upcoming. Give us that feedback. Let us know how amazing of a speaker Eric was, and all that kind of stuff. We want to make sure that these are meeting your needs from a technical standpoint from our portfolio. So hit that up if you can. Any other questions? We kind of thought, given that this was going to be a personal device overview and not the bigger room device, that we would be ending a little sooner today. But we are less than 10 minutes out, and we've still had questions. That's awesome. Any other questions we can field on the PanaCast 20 or beyond? Seeing no more raised hands.
Well, there were some questions, and it looks like there's some answers starting to filter into the chat. But questions around: is there, like a solution, SKU, bundle, product offering from Jabra for customers looking to deploy like a Teams room system, right? Where what's the output of that is the device on the table with the meeting. The room was invited to a meeting, and all the end user has to do is walk in and click join. So yeah, that's probably a topic for another day, but yes, talk to your Jabra representative, or if you check out our website, you'll see a couple different options now, as Josh had mentioned earlier, for solutions built on the PanaCast 50, or that deliver that PanaCast 50 room experience that do kind of encompass a native Teams room or Zoom room meeting room experience down to that end user experience where they can control the room and the AV on the on a controller that's on the table, with that simple experience that really extends the Teams and Zoom platforms from what people do at their desks and on the go, but it complements that into to meeting rooms inside of a building.
And again, there's the Windows, as Lindsay called out here, the Windows option, that PanaCast 50 room system, with the item number there, and then of course the video bar system, which is the Android option. So you get a choice of either direction there. Along those lines, Kate asked, are there any plans for a Meet Anywhere kit that incorporates the PanaCast 20? And I will give the background there to say, for those of you that aren't familiar with Meet Anywhere, what Meet Anywhere is a bundle that includes the original PanaCast. Okay, that's the 180-degree field of room, can be used as a personal device, but also can be used in those smaller spaces. Pairs that with, as you see on Eric's screen there, a legacy, I'll call it, Speak device. So we have our newer Speak line out that is the Speak 2 line. There's nothing official to answer on that, is the quick answer there, right? There's no official bundle that's been announced or in that direction. We of course are aware that ask has been put out there, and we are considering what that looks like, but nothing to officially announce there. But the other thing that Eric is showing, and I'm going to stop presenting again and spotlight him once more, is that Meet Anywhere kit comes with an actual carrying case for portability. It's great for being, a small huddle room space or that stationary spot. But if you need a meeting room on the go, that is an awesome solution. And you get the stand that comes with it as well, so that you can put that PanaCast at eye level. I've actually got my PanaCast 20 mounted to that exact stand sitting right in front of me now. That's how I keep my PanaCast 20, so that it's eye level. But great question. And any promotion on the PanaCast this month? I don't know the answer to that. Rhoda, do you know of anything there to share?
So for end customers, we do have a technology refresh program that's available. Eric, I'm not sure if you're an end customer, but just to answer your question, I'll put the link in the chat here, and we're offering customers some rebates that are available if you're refreshing your gear at your office.
Awesome. Yeah, and I can appreciate, Kate, your comment there. The fact that the Meet Anywhere has been around for a while. You get asked about it more than you'd think. I continue to get asked about that at events on the show floor. It is a popular ask, I admittedly. So I'm personally in the corner hoping that we have another bundle that we come out with that's updated with our newer solutions, but just there's nothing to share there right now. So. Okay. Any other questions? I am pleasantly surprised with the amount of conversation around this topic today. This
I am too. When we talked about doing this, I was like, what's there to really talk about? It's a webcam. It's a powerful little webcam.
It's so much more than a webcam. That's exactly.
A video device.
Perfect. Well, hey, everyone that has been here today, a few have had to drop, but thank you so much for taking the time again. I hope we're going to see you in November for the last one of the year. One way or another, it's going to be a fantastic session. And then we'll hopefully have details for you around what you can expect as the new year kicks off in January and February. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for tuning in, bringing all the questions and the engagement. That's been fantastic. I hope that we'll see you back here again for the next one. And if you have the time, please fill out those surveys. Best of luck on the drawing as well. Keep an eye on those emails in case you are the lucky winner this month. Thank you all. I don't have outgoing intro theme music, so we're just going to kind of end it a little more unofficially than theme music. But thanks again.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Great job.
Great job to you, Eric.